Wow, it says we got 11 people already. Huh. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for taking your time out of the day for coming and watching the fish talk. Our guest will be here in a few minutes. He got held up in traffic, literally. But what we're going to be talking about today is Vivi.com. And today with me is my co-host. I drug him out of the depths unknown, Jason.
Hello. How you doing?
I went
Yes.
fishing and I hooked this thing. But
Down from the murky below. Yep.
yeah.
What's going
And
on?
then give me a thumbs up when you're ready, Alex. All right, and here's our guest for this evening, Mr. Alexander.
Hello.
Hello.
You're not who I wanted to see.
Okay, fine. Bye.
See ya.
He's quick on the draw, that one.
Oh, he is. He's very quick.
How's everybody doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Did a little corn maze with the family today.
Nice.
Not a spooky one.
Oh.
You go through it and you play a game on the game card and you answer these questions and they give you a prize. We got frustrated and said, to heck with it. Let's find the exit.
Should have just brought shears and just cut holes.
Scythe and just swat through it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you how easy this one is. There's a QR code. You take a picture of it, and it gives you a map.
Oh.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, well, what it does, it gives you an aerial view of it.
Yeah.
They must upload it through Google Maps or something because as you're walking,
Wow.
showing you where you're
Oh,
going.
it's real time?
Yeah. And
Wow.
Dang.
there's in the picture was a sunflower.
That's cool.
And it had some words about God in there. And it was pretty neat.
That is cool.
I mean, yeah. I when I was a kid, you starved to death in those things. So, I mean, that's an improvement.
Yeah. I grew up behind a cornfield. Yeah.
Aren't you from the Midwest or Pennsylvania? Okay, never mind.
Pennsylvania. Yep. There's a lot of corn in Pennsylvania, believe it or
There's
not.
a lot of corn like everywhere other than the coasts, I feel like.
That's fair. It's a fair statement.
Like I went to Chicago and I was like, oh, I was expecting corn when we got outside the city, and Jonathan, who was driving me around, was like, not so much. And then there was like all these soybean fields, and I was like, oh, so it's soybeans. And he's like, yeah, it's all soybeans. And I was like, okay, well, it's something growing, monoculture.
Well, back when I was a kid, that it was before like the soy thing,
Yeah.
It was all corn.
Before soy was cool. And then before soy boy became
before soy became in everything.
Yeah.
So you don't call it children of the corn anymore. It's children of the soy.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that's a whole lot harder to hide in.
Yeah. The army crawl.
Low crawl through it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what you got in that tank behind you, Skipper?
Star Sapphire cichlids.
You got church candy.
And I had to add this filter. It's time for an upgrade.
I like hang off the backs. I use them a lot because you can just kind of let them get real dirty. And then it kind of just transitions your tank to filterless, which is kind of handy. Mm-hmm. But man, they're kind of a pain to clean. Like when they get real dirty.
The drop tubes and stuff.
Yeah.
Get a special tool for it.
Yeah, pipe brush thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and those types that you have there are better, I think, than the kind where you have like the actual impeller is in the tank, like as part of the tube. I hate that because that always splits, whatever brand that is. I can't remember. It's Penguin or, one of the ones at Petco or something. But when the impeller's right there, you get way better suction. But at the same time, like they don't make it as one unit because they manufacture the little motor separate always. And so it always the seam always opens and you lose suction on it. Like it's happened on every single one I own.
Well, this is a marine land, and what I like
Those are good.
is whenever your filter gets full, instead of it overflowing out the back onto the floor, on this section at the front, look, my puppies, they want fed. There's a slot for the water just to come right back out into the tank.
Yeah, that's usually where I've got like my algae growing, you know, my nice little wall of moss and ferns and algae. But I like that feature too. I don't know why they don't all do that. The ones that you have to like snap the top on, and like if the water gets too high, it overflows off the back. Those ones drive me mad. But
yeah, and whenever I was looking to hang on the back filters, I was looking at everything.
Yeah,
Because of all the horror stories that I've heard about, well, if you don't keep an eye on it, it gets clogged or whatever.
yeah.
And these seem to start up great whenever the power goes out.
Yeah,
Even-
that's a
because
that's the
the
beef I have
motor
with
right there.
the aqua clears. A lot
Yeah,
of my aqua clears never start after the power goes out.
that just happened. Like, right, this is the time of year in Washington State when the power goes out all the time. Like, there's a windstorm every week, pretty much. Like, and it'll
Yeah.
just kick up for a couple hours and then like 40, 50 mile an hour winds, but it's enough that it knocks anything loose. Like,
Trees falling on the lines.
yeah, not really damaging usually. I mean,
Yeah.
like 1 or 2 trailers get squished or something, or a hole through a
But
house.
the power blinks, yeah, because they got to
Yeah.
reroute it from one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I get it, man. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
Pulling
and
power surges and stuff.
yeah, exactly. And so the same thing happens though. Whenever that it kicks back on, I run into the fish room and I'm like, all right, which one do I have to like?
What's not working?
Yeah, which one do I have to get the turkey baster on? And plus, that's also when heaters frequently will go nuts. So I've learned. So I pretty much got rid of most of my heaters now. I've still got a few, but I got rid of all the ones in any expensive fish. They don't have heaters anymore. The room's heated. So
Well, that's fair.
I gotta have them.
I've just killed too many. I've lost too many fish to even expensive heaters. It's so frustrating. So I quit it. I got a
Unless
I got
you're
a
gonna do
space
like
heater.
heater controllers on everything, right? And even
Yeah.
then, if they're not telling you anything's wrong, you don't know anything's wrong.
Right. And so I got a little space heater, and the amount of energy it uses compared to like 20 heaters in tanks is actually minute. So
Is it one of those oil radiator space heaters? Like
yeah.
those things are great. I have one
Yeah.
too. It works
Yeah.
great.
I got it on sale on like Prime Day or something. I think
Yeah.
last year. So yeah. Totally.
I'm gonna go ahead and get into the hellos before I forget.
All right.
Just say some hellos here. Are we
Hi.
doing trick? Are we doing trick or treat? I'm gonna
Trick
say.
or treat.
We're a treat.
All right, we got
Trick or
Scotty the Fish Freak, Jeff Kane, TJ Autocross, Sky Dancer, Dennis Christensen, the Stephen P. We all know this guy. We just met him. Well, I met him at Fishtoberfest, but we met him last weekend actually up on stream.
That guy
What's
has
up,
been
man?
sleeping in my hotel room for the last 2 festivals. I just wake up and there's this Asian kid in my room.
You can't get rid of him. I know.
No,
we got
he's
the Garden of Eater, Monster
great.
Fish Gal. Just can't get rid of him. Big J, how you doing, buddy? We have Merrick.
Alex, I have something for you, by the way.
Scuba
is it
Steve.
contagious?
In case you don't know.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
You
what?
weren't there you weren't there yesterday. Yeah, you won 3rd place.
Oh, that is an epic
Hell yeah, man.
It's just epic. I can't think of the word for trophy right now.
We got Jenny
That's
Lynn,
right.
Paul McCartney. We got Eddie. Hello. We got Matt from Only Fins, Liquid Zoo.
Jolene? Is the answer Jolene?
One of them was yes. It was. You were there. You would have gotten it.
Got Lady Diane. And was it Jolene? Richard Reynolds. That's a good one. We got Debbie Holding, which is now known as Deb's
Oh, we got a name change. Artist formerly known as Deb.
Yeah,
My
I wouldn't have
mind is
known
exploding.
that, but she kept her thumbnail the same, so that's how I figured that out.
I see the thumbnail now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sneaky when people do that. You know, they sent me a message and they're like, "Do you want to change your channel handle?" And I was like, "I kind of want to change it to Fishtory. Like that'd be so much shorter." But
Yeah.
but I don't know if that like ruins everything at this point.
I
So
don't
Yeah, but
think
isn't
it
a
would.
handle different than your channel name? It's just like what people can at you at.
yeah, you're right.
Instead of at the secret history living in
Mhm.
your aquarium, be at Fishtory, and it would just tag the secret history living in your aquarium.
I
Yeah.
think it would be a lot
So maybe you
easier.
should take that handle.
Okay. All right. I will before someone else. Watch someone's Stephen P. That
Somebody's already on it.
he's gonna do it. Yeah.
Stephen P.
You
already
know what?
took
Screw you.
it. We got Fish Rumor, Sandy Dowdy. Somebody's going to take it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, soup for you. I'm taking it. Window liquor number 5. That reminds me of a song.
Mambo number 5. That's all I can think of. Every time
Yeah.
I see that name, I think of the Aphex Twin album with this creepy dude on the cover who's like licking something. And then I think of Mambo number 5 playing over that image. I've been traumatized by pop culture, I guess.
Yes.
And we got the Fishmon.
Trophy. What's up?
You know, I
Fishmon.
never won any trophies as a kid, so I feel like this is vindication. 3rd place. I'm second loser.
Yeah. But
You're 3rd place.
But you know
Yeah,
what?
so you're the second loser. Yep. I see where you're coming from.
I mean, you could pull a Fishmon. Be like, listen.
Oh yeah, the whole.
Use it didn't.
For all you who didn't get a trophy.
F you, you suck.
Oh, Fishmon.
Oh man! All right, so I think there's this thing called Vivi.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't worry about it.
I don't.
No.
I probably wouldn't either.
Actually, there's some pretty sweet Ancestris on there today.
I got a pretty sweet deal on Vivi this past week, as a matter of fact. So I have actually completed a transaction on Vivi.
Nice.
Very well.
Have you been able to leave a review yet? I heard they're working on some bugs with that.
I had a big issue with leaving a review. I actually sent them feedback that I had a problem with it.
Oh, good. The guy told me, he's like, "We're working on it. We're working on it. Tell them we're working on it."
I mean, I don't know. Do you know Marcel at all? That's who I did the. I got some Radnocentris from from one of the sellers, Roseline 17. Great transaction. Everything was perfect. Fish were great. Everything was packed well. Like I bought 10. He gave me 5 extra fish. They were packed in. Yeah, it was. I was like, wow. Yeah, and they were all packed in like I think it was 5 bags for 15 fish. So.
Wow.
Yeah, he packed was still more. Everything was great, and I tried to leave a review, and somehow it's the review stuck to my profile. But anyway, so he never saw the review, but I had a problem with it. Yeah, but other than that, everything was great.
Right
I
on.
also purchased myself from there the other night.
The banjo.
I did have a hiccup with the email thing, getting it all set up, but I sent them an email and they fixed it. But other than that, everything went smooth.
Right on.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, part of the issue is that they decided, do we keep this private for another 6 months and have like, a test crew doing it, or do we just open it to the public? And they voted like, we've been working on this for almost 2 years from like inception to this point. And, basically they're like, let's let the public play with it. It's a little glitchy, but hopefully people will forgive that for the utility, and they're working on that. They have a team of a couple people that are working on that, like pretty much chained to a desk working 24/7.
No, as long as they're aware that there's an issue with leaving reviews. I mean, that's a minor issue, really.
Yeah, mobile's a little weird sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like trying to get browse through things or add things. But I was able to build everything on my profile on mobile at the end of the day. And I wanted to do that just to like prove a point. Like, is it possible right now? And it is, but you might have to like turn your phone sideways because there's part of it cut off because it didn't scale right. Little things like that. And a lot of them they've fixed just because they want to hear if something's screwy, they want to hear about it. So you can just email them and they'll pass it on to the people that are working on it all.
Right.
But so those fish, those are mine. I don't want to flex too hard, but yeah,
Wow.
all the little wallpapers and the color schemes and all that kind of stuff. And then like me and this other gal, Michelle is her name, who's a marketing gal. So we've been working on this like hardcore for over a year now, but 2 years since the inception of it and working on it. If you scroll down, yeah, where it says Vivi is cycling, which is their way of saying like this is the beta testing or beta testing. But like all these little images, we had like this was like my idea of creating a hierarchy of like you start with a shadow image, and as you get more specific in the taxonomy, you start getting clearer in picture until like the actual image itself that you're buying is a photo. So like here you get a little more detail under each, you got the outlines of fish at the top, you've got the taxonomical with a little more detail of each section. So like that's what my contribution was, basically, was designing the interface and the graphics like in conjunction with their marketing gal. And so I have skin in the game, so to speak, in that I made like over 1,000 of these little thumbnails, like vector art where I, overlay a picture and sketch over it or whatever it was that I had to do to make the type of art. And then I had to, write instructions so that now they can hire some other company to do it. But I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. So I've been getting glimpses at this, and it like, to tell you all the stuff that is hidden within this site, in the building of it, is pretty incredible. In that, like, for instance, it's the only site that will be able to, you build a tank, you say, I have six neon tetras, 5 Corridoras, and an auto sinkless. It's a 20-gallon long, and here are my water parameters. Well, it will have the ability then to suggest the most common fish that people have, or suggest a centerpiece fish. Like they'll do it by size, do it by water parameters, they'll be able to do it by common name, by Latin name. So in the future, the hope is that they're going to be able to kind of anonymously, like it isn't pinned to any one person, but the more data people share with their home aquariums. So that's not really on the seller side, that's on the buyer side. So even if you're not selling fish on here, if you want to create essentially a LinkedIn for your fish room, then they're going to be able to take all that big data and kind of through both algorithms and crunching the numbers and stuff, they'll be able then to share that information, and they're going to keep it all open source. Like when they get that kind of info and put it in the learning and community tab. And then that way people will be able to see like, hey, look at this. Actually, Bolivian rams actually spawn at 78 degrees. They don't need to be at 84 or whatever it is that, comes from noticing from thousands of fish keepers uploading stuff. But the main thing right now is like that anybody who wants to, who gets signed up for this can sell their stock. And so they're really hoping people who are used to selling either through their own website, who just want some more free exposure. And honestly, this is cheaper shipping than any site anyone has. Like I've talked to all the way up to, even like Aquarium Co-op or big places, even though they don't sell fish per se, like they have Aquahuna, and nobody can come near the $25 shipping right now. And it's in the future, it will probably be cheaper in some places and more expensive in others. But they're going to keep running that for the first few months. And so I'm telling everybody, like, you have nothing to lose. They don't charge you to make postings. So if you have fish to sell, like, try selling them. And I mean, heck, they pay, they give you a print label to print out, and you can ship up to like a dozen angelfish for $25 overnight anywhere in the country, which is, I mean, they're losing money on that as a promo. And I happen to know that they bargained, better prices. And so in the future, the way the site's going to work is it's going to take wherever you are signed up at from, like when you sign into the site, and it will tell you what stuff's closest to you, because shipping is going to be a little bit cheaper. But then it will show you whatever you want. I mean, it'll show you whatever you want to see, but it'll be in the order of what's closest. Because if they were able to negotiate in a way that like the public doesn't, which is they were able to look at zones. And so for people in the Midwest, quite frankly, you're going to have way, way cheaper shipping than people in Florida and Washington, because you're actually paying a proportional amount in the future, is how it'll be, of like $149 for white cloud minnows. That's a pretty good deal right there,
Yeah, and that's one of the questions I had for
This
you.
is the box I got.
Was about
That's a good size box.
Yeah, and it was insulated, well packed. Make sure you don't see my name, my address.
Oh wow!
But I pack, and it's like it's all four corners. We're like
Wow.
Bags are all in there. It was great.
I like that styrofoam better than the white stuff.
For $25, yeah, not bad, right?
So, like you said, it later on down the road, it's going to go into zones or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, like in the center of the country, that's a zone. I think there's going to be 5 zones. There's technically 6, but like the only time 6 comes into play is like Washington, like Seattle to Miami or Seattle to Maine. It's really, I think 99.2% of the country or something doesn't live in an area where you could get 6 zones. But like if you live in Key West and you order something from Seattle, I think you could theoretically hit that 6 zone. But the most shipping is going to be in the future, I think, is going to be like $48. So it's still extremely cheap. That's if you hit all the zones. Yeah, whereas like
corner to corner, yeah.
Yeah, whereas if you're shipping from Iowa to Chicago, or something like that, it's probably going to be like $15 overnight shipping in the future. So some are cheaper, some are more expensive than their current 25. But if you're in the center of the country, you luck out in that you're never going to be more than 3 zones away from anything. Whereas like San Diego, Seattle, Miami, we kind of get less lucky in that, we'll have to buy something. But if I buy something from California, it's going to be way cheaper than if I buy something from Florida in the future. Right. But for now, for the next few months, it's $25. So it's like free for all. I mean, I
jumped on it as soon as I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild.
I mean, normally that guy's $60 shipping. So 25 was a whole lot better of a deal than me.
And lately, lately I've seen it go up to like $80, even just for one fish. You know what I mean? It's crazy. The shipping rates have gone bonkers, and they locked it in. They paid for the year or whatever, so they've got it figured out that way. So it should average right around $25 to $35 in the future, and that it'll also depend on size and everything. But right now, what they're kind of working on is they're checking out the average size of package that people are sending. And then they're going to standardize like 3 sizes of boxes. And you'll be able to order the boxes, the heat pack, the insulation, everything from this site for cost. And it will be at a negotiated cost that they were able to bargain wholesale. So a heat pack, instead of paying $1.25 or $2 or whatever it is you pay for your heat pack, they'll get the very best deal in the country because they'll be buying $200,000 worth of heat packs, and then they'll flip it around and they'll just charge you their discounted shipping to your place and then the packaging. But I mean, I've designed the packaging that says Vivi for different sizes and has little fish on the side and shrimp and, you know, a number of things. So it's all in the works. It's just now we really need to, and I say we, I don't work for them. I don't get paid by them right now or anything. I just freelance for them. But if you've watched my channel, this was like my dream 4 years ago. I was like, if only there was a site where I could say I need a male, long fin, bristle nose albino, you know, because I only have
Yeah.
females, and
Yeah.
you know, and Aquabid. Also, the years of scams that have happened on Aquabid, like, you know, it's a pretty good site for the most part, but it's kind of falling out of use, and you got all these Facebook marketplaces, and then those got shut down, and now there's like all these closed little forums and back channels.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have
Band
it all.
apps and all that stuff.
Yeah, the band thing, and even just like, you know, people still doing it on Facebook, but like through the DMs and stuff. So it's just nice to have it all in one spot. And then the other thing is that Vivi, if you're selling, they cover the DOA. Like if there's an issue that crops up, that's part of like the service they're offering is, one, you know, they give you the right to not ship. So if you have fish and you look at them and you're like, you know what, this tank has ick now since this order came in, you know, fish health and ethics is at the very top of everything done on the site. Like they have like at the company, it's a pretty cool company in that it's very lean and everybody's remote. But when I've sat in on meetings and stuff, it's very like, you know, here are our fundamental values of the company, and they're on the board, even if we're talking about thumbnail photos or something. They're like, does that give people the impression that it's okay to keep a catfish in a tiny tank? Like, okay, maybe we need a different thumbnail, you know? So it's pretty interesting. Like it's a group of people that really do care, which is I'm not saying people in the past haven't, but they maybe haven't implemented that as actively into the actual functionality of the site. And I mean, right now it doesn't make sense to do plants so much unless you're shipping them with fish. Maybe a lot of people, you know, don't want to pay $25, but honestly, I'd pay $25 for a good plant. I'd pay that in shipping, no problem, because it's like $16.50 or $21.50 or whatever it ends up being, even for 3-day slow mail usually, you know. So it's not that much more. If you were going to buy a couple plants, I wouldn't buy one at that rate. But you know, the other thing is, I usually am pushing people on Aquatic Arts because I am affiliated with Aquatic Arts, and they have the same owner. He did pony up the money from his business at Aquatic Arts to build this site, and just to say, like, he put it all on the line. You know what I mean? Like, this is everything. I mean, 2 years of people working on it and not making any money is no joke. Plus, they upgraded the other place. So he really took all the money they've made over the years and is reinvesting it, you know, kind of wildly.
Well, that's great.
So I hope it pays off, because I think
I do too.
It
seems a great idea. That's, you know.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, you know, he said, I hope that Vivi puts Aquatic Arts out of business eventually, because the goal at Aquatic Arts of theirs is they wanted everything bred in local water, and they want rare stuff, but they want people to only really be buying it when, like, you know, wild caught stuff. Ideally, only buy it if you're going to be breeding it, you know. That's kind of the ethic, and it's not, I mean, that's not always the case. Like, there's plenty of things that are sustainable and it's fine, but like, for instance, chili rasboras, they are not sustainable in the wild right now. And so if you're catching those, it would be great if a lot more people started breeding them, you know.
Gotcha.
And like, there's a lot of politics involved, but like, all those little micro rasboras are not doing well right now. And they're actually, they should be on the IUCN red list, but the countries don't want to do it because it's, you know, economically it's a big thing, and Secondly,
money talks, man. Money talks.
well, yeah, and secondly, it looks bad when they say actually here's 40 species, even, but they're like, hey, they're just little fish. That's kind of the attitude. When somebody says here's 40 species, you guys should probably list. So it's been a fight going on behind closed doors, and there's other things like goodeids and CPDs and things like that just come from regions where they're either extinct in the wild or there's a war there, or Mbuna puffers, like the Congo, not the stablest place.
Right.
So, and I did see the comment, does Vivi stand for something? So Vivi is from the Latin root viva or life, or vive, to live. And so they took that and then they kind of wanted almost like the retro, I think, kind of feel of like Vivi sounds like someone's aunt who like with that like kitchen of the future music playing, like dun, 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 and like all our furniture will clean itself in the future.
Self-scrubbing floors.
Yeah.
Right. That'd be nice.
Aunt Vivi loves it, so I don't know. I think there's kind of like companies that they'll tell you in marketing, and I deal with this and don't listen to it, but you should name it after a person so that people, think of it as a person, or subconsciously anthropomorphize companies. So that I'm sure that plays into it too. I mean, there was like a long argument over it. In fact, the founder was like, I don't like that name. And then they had a blind board of people, basically like a surveys, like which of these names do you like? And that was one that even if they didn't pick it as their top, it was the one they would remember on the next page when it was like, which of these do you remember seeing? It was like Vivi, 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 Vivi. So now the only frustrating part about that too is that Vivi could be spelled a couple ways. And so Vivvy, I mean, I think that's a pretty straightforward way, but people are always asking me when I say it, so wait, how's that spelled?
Right.
So
could be with an I, could be one V.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that really where there's going to be a huge difference too. Can I share a screen, Skipper?
Yes,
is that cool? All right, let me pull this up real quick.
One of the things, I mean, it's very easy to order too, because I ordered the banjo catfish, and the breeder ended up being Consolidated Fish Farms. $5 a piece. I ordered 4 of them, and plus with your $25 shipping, that's only $45.
I know, and at my local store, those are $25 a piece.
Yeah,
so that's crazy good deal. Not to mention like the money that's then going back to the breeders or home breeders. Like a lot of us, even if you have say 10 or 15 tanks, you could probably pay for your hobby easily. Selling off your guppies and shrimp and whatever you got.
I know you was up there with Jason on Saturday morning cartoons. Of course, I had to work that day. What's the percentage for people whenever they put up on there? Is it a pretty decent percentage that they would get?
Oh yeah, it's great. So it's, to me, I almost was like, are you sure that's enough for this company? So the banks and the fact that they've hired very very detailed like encryption and like VPN tunneling for all transactions and things like that. That all those fees and transaction fees, the convenience fees that banks love to charge, and credit card handling fees, that comes out to like around 4 point something percent. So then they take another 10.2%. It's 10 point something percent is what they end up taking, but it ends up being 15 flat. So for 15% so it's really cheap. I mean, if you figure that, say you sell Corridora stir by and they go for $8 at the pet store, you, instead of selling them for $1.50 or $2 to your local pet store and only getting store credit, or maybe you get cash even, like you're going to get 1/3 to 1/5 of the retail price. And that's good case, that's good scenario. So what Vivi is hopefully going to do is get rid of that middleman for one. And so there's no one paying a lease. There's no one at the store that has to get their cut necessarily. And so the breeder and the buyer are the ones that, are benefiting in this completely. And yeah, if you do have a store, you can still be on there and maybe just list specialty fish that you sell or just, unique stuff. But the fact that if you'd normally get $1.50 for your Cory, now you can sell it at a discount for say $6 instead of $8 or $5 even, and you're taking home almost all of that money. You know what I mean? You're taking home an extra $3.50 a fish.
So
compared
I mean,
to
like I noticed Aquatic Arts is on there in Consolidated Fish Farm. There are two pretty big companies in my eyes. So like what they could do is if they're not moving the fish, it could be like a clearance rack for them.
Yep. That's exactly. I mean, Aquatic Arts has put a little more than that on the line because of this, but I mean, that's exactly what they're encouraging people to do too. And that never means sickly fish or anything like that. That's paramount, When you sign up to be a seller, you'll definitely get the legalese, the waiver thing that you sign agreeing to stuff. But, it's the fish well-being is really important, and it's not just lip service. It's not just because it sounds good or whatever. Like they really do care about that. And then the creator David, who put the money up for this from Aquatic Arts, the owner David and Crystal are the owner of Aquatic Arts. They've stepped back from both companies in a daily operation sense, somewhat. So they're not micromanaging anything. They both have managers that are completely independent companies of one another that are now doing it. And he's kind of managing other philanthropic and bigger picture. Like if they're doing, for instance, right now they're trying to breed all of their like Babalti and Silawese shrimp in-house at Aquatic Arts in their new facility. They're trying to, breed whatever rope fish and fish that nobody's bred in the U.S. So they're doing other projects, but one thing they've always done, and they've never been as vocal about it as I think they should be, is he's given away like a few $100,000 every year that I've worked with them to, for instance, the Red Cross, to the local Indianapolis women's and children and women's shelter for like women who are facing abusive situations and need a place to hide basically and then get back on their feet. He's given to those causes. He's done the teachers tanks for teachers, like there's a few hundred teachers with pictures when I was going through the files that are like kind of stored for like looking at what Photoshop elements and things they already had when I was doing the graphic design. I'm like, what's with all these thank you notes? Like, how come we've never seen these? He's like, I just don't want to make a big deal about it. It's just something we do. But the fact that if you adopt a pet from the Humane Society, Aquatic Arts had always given a $50 gift certificate. You don't have to do anything other than show the picture of your adoption form, and they give you $50. It has nothing to do with them. It's just he's just saying thank you. So the fact that they've done stuff like that since I've worked with them is why I continue to, because in the future they want to work on like a lot of preservation, conservation, and like actually like maybe organizing things like I've talked about with my nonprofit, which is like and that's kind of also another ulterior motive of mine is I would love to see a standard for fair trade, like bucephalandra, for instance, to show that it wasn't poached or whatever, to show that if it's caught by indigenous people like Project Piaba, and it's supporting like a whole region. I think that's important for us to know stuff like that. And if it's a sustainable wild hatchery that isn't anywhere near getting depleted by the aquarium hobby, when there's literally trillions of neon tetras still, it's nice to know that the whatever 40 million that get caught or killed each year, that's nothing compared to the like 20 billion that die in the sun because their puddles dried up in the Amazon, you know? So
Right.
it's just the way of life in the Amazon. Like a lot of these fish, they get stuck in puddles, same in the Southeast Asia and rice fields. And some survive, some don't. Sometimes they dry out. And so that's why these fish have 200 or 300 eggs. But, you know, there's some that don't have that situation and that need help. And there's others that are great to exploit. And then you see people like Dr. Mazerol and his research center down in Peru, where he's teaching them how to do that. So I could easily see them teaming up with something like that, you know, and doing a project where the middleman transshipper down there doesn't get like I've mentioned this before, but the actual price right now, this was as of last season, of cardinal tetras that are young wild caught. So that's half-inch to inch long fish. They weigh it by the kilo, and it was $4 US per kilo, which is 2.3 pounds or whatever it is, and that's over 1,000 little fish in a bag. That's without water weight, and they're getting $4. I mean, I pay more than that locally for each fish. So
Yeah, it's no joke there.
So I mean, granted, yeah, you got to ship it and you got to keep it alive, and maybe you treat it and quarantine it. But a big part of it is just transshippers in the big cities in South America saying like, I'm going to mark it up to $1.50, and then wholesalers are going to do this. It's like they paid literally a tenth of a penny for that fish, you know? So what if in the future we are able to create networks where it's wild caught, but literally, you know, one whole dollar of the $4 you pay on Vivi goes to someone in a developing nation where that's like, you know, that could be enough that they can survive with their whole family for like, you know, a few days. Like so it makes a huge difference where most of these fish come from. And that's like the bigger picture that could get involved too. So I think that's one exciting part of it. But I also want, if it's okay to share my screen to show you guys. All right, let's see here. So share.
I mean, the website's going to have a couple glitches for right now, but once people keep using it, it's going to get fixed. Now, a lot of people are like, well, is it going to try to take place of other websites? No, not necessarily, because there's always going to be others, and not everybody's going to use whatever.
Yeah.
They're all going to go to one. So I wouldn't worry about that.
And I would say that the other thing that they want this site to do is to literally lower the price in the industry. So, I mean, the real people who should be watching out are Arizona Gardens, Live Aquaria, you know, the big online retailers. That's honestly who stands to get hurt by this, if anyone, I would say. I mean, Vivi's probably not going to want to comment on that as a company, but
no.
When you think about it, the local fish store, there's the convenience factor, there's the like help and trust factor, but they're really trying to build a lot of that into this website, and having people like me, like Matt Parkinson, and like they're going to have special feature articles from, you know, for instance, like they'll have someone, I'm not saying that they've got him or anything, but like Gary Lang might be the one who writes the article on rainbow fish care or first rainbow fish. So they're going to be inviting people who want to be a part of this community too, to educate the community on like what are some best practices, or what are the easy fish to do to care for, or, you know, if you're getting into some of the oddball or strange fish, like what are some tips for care and things like that. Now, what I want to show you guys on this site is, so even if you're not selling anything, so say you're like, I don't even want to sell anything, that sounds like a headache, I don't have enough room to breed. What I want to encourage people to do is is upload a profile and like each of your tanks, if you want to, you can create like this one, my lake inlay tank. This is the one that recently had the nitrogen crash, but that's what it looked like right before. And I was able then to upload like my sketch, like my thought of what it would look like from the beginning of the year to then in February when I built the hardscape, and then end of February when I planted it, to May when it had grown in fully, and now where I've got all these fish and everything's in there. But then I was able to also do like a map of where Lake Inlay is, and then like what the rivers and things are in the area. It comes from this area right in the dead center on the Shan Plateau, and then even include pictures of the biotope and a thumbnail from my channel on. If you want to go learn more, like go to my channel and watch the videos on Lake Inlay. But you can put all that in your description, and then you've got a photo gallery basically for your tank. And underneath all that, you can include your inhabitants, and it will link them. And eventually, right now it's not all linked, but eventually it'll be linked to the point where you see like a Galaxy Rasbora, a CPD, and you will be able to click on it, and it will show you any that are for sale. So if somebody else, yeah, so if anybody else wants to replicate it, it'll kind of be like Wikipedia, where anything that's like linked, anything that has information elsewhere on the site is linked. And so then you can also go to like current tank parameters and see, oh, okay, so Lake Inlay is a little bit cooler than true tropical tanks because it's up in the mountains. So what fish would be able to pair with this? So then they should be rolling out a feature of like fish that are okay with these parameters that I've punched in here, and then it'll give you a whole shopping list of what you could put in that tank. And so the nicest part about all of this, in my opinion, is that it gives you a link to each tank that you've built. And so if you have an aquascape or you're having trouble with escape or whatever, you can link it, and then you can send someone that, and they have all the troubleshooting info they could need on your tank. They've got all of it right there.
Where do they go to find like a profile? Type in the name, or is there
yeah, so you go to community, and this is a lot easier on a laptop or desktop. Obviously on a mobile it kind of smushes it all, and so it gets a little trickier. But you go to community and it will show you whoever's been uploading stuff lately. But like these here are not necessarily all stuff for sale. There's not prices. These are people just saying, look what's in my tank.
Okay.
And it could be just also that maybe you want to go browse and say, oh, look at that, those are doing really well for that person. I'm gonna follow this guy. You can follow their profile. You can go to their profile and actually see their history of their reviews, seller reviews, buyer reviews, their tanks, if they have a bunch. But this person doesn't have a bunch yet. But you can say, they're going to be breeding, X, Y, or Z that I'm really interested in. And so that's why we're kind of encouraging people. Like, I know for a fact this seller has a lot of stuff up.
That's who I got my rads from.
Right yeah, there. Yeah. And like these are great photos too. So that's another thing is, people will have to figure out if they're selling, you'll want to have good photos. If you're just sharing for yourself, you don't even need to have photos. You can list the species in your tank just as whatever, like just as the little word, the one word info. But if we go to profile, and this is someone that I want to follow just because they had like a collection point of Radnocentris. Yeah, the Tiwa Creek. I've never seen those. I've only seen Ceres Creek and Puna Creek. And they've got those. They've got these new honeycomb bristlenose. These are just These are just ancestris, and look at how crazy they look.
Wow.
And
cool.
So they've got some interesting stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna follow them. That's for sure.
Okay.
You definitely want to follow that breeder.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, look, some of these are only $30 for these honeycombs. Wow, snowflake bristle. Okay, I gotta stop. But but I mean, then you go to their tanks, and the way sellers have set their tanks up might be rainbow fish. So instead of having a real tank, they list all their rainbow fish that have the same parameters in one tank. So you've got like all these fish. Ooh, they've got RU2s.
Yeah, I bet you that's Roseline. Is that Roseline as well?
Yeah, it is. And those aren't for sale yet, but that lets you know, like, hey, they're working on that probably. And then you can go to current tank parameters, and it'll tell you, whoa, that surprises the heck out of me that their pH is that high.
Wow.
I usually keep mine very neutral, whenever I've had those, but that's good to know. I mean, so wow, look at how beautiful some of these fish are. Anyways,
yeah, right.
so is that a Paskai or what is that?
Well, I can show you the Tiwa Creeks that I got from that guy.
Oh, these are Williams Creeks. I don't even know that one, the Melitania.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, yeah, there's just so much stuff that this will have the ability to do also by putting in your tank parameters. If you have your own profile, so like me and my profile, what they're going to do in the future is they're going to have it able to you're going to be able to chart your tank. So even if you did, like, I have a black water tank that I had set up, and all I had was Batis in there, and it's been a while. Like, this is a real old picture. But if I were wanting to, and I was just also showing that this is all you need to share to get a tank going. You don't really need much info. Like, it can be an old tank that you just wanted to share that, like, oh, I like the way that turned out. Or, speaking of you guys, pack a bowl contest. Here's my filterless vase tank. So a lot of people want updates on that tank because I've done videos on it. Well, see here, I haven't uploaded any of my own pictures yet. So it's just a list of the species of plants and fish and stuff. But if people wanted to, they can get a little spiel about it. They can see the tank parameters. And you don't have to have all that. And right now, I haven't uploaded recent tank parameters, but in the future, this will be a momentary thing. So you can come back and update it over and over and end up basically having a graph of what your tanks are doing. So if you wanted to use this as a way to, like, journal your fish room or how quickly your fry are growing out and taking pictures and uploading them every month just to share it with people, you could totally do that. Like, this is another one where this is the start of my aquascape, and then it grew in a little bit, and then it grew in a whole bunch, and then now it's just a crazy jungle that's out of control. But in here, I talk about the Iwagumi stuff you talk about on my channel. So if you have your own website, there's nothing against being able to share in any of these descriptions, or like I did, let me show you guys in one more spot. If you go to my profile, I also just shared, like, native fish in my area. So these aren't fish that I'm necessarily keeping, but I just wanted to show, hey, this is where I live. So I just decided to totally use the gallery inappropriately and then list species of native fish to Washington in there. So, I mean, there's like a level of creativity that I'd love to see what people come up with in the fact that also, like, I'm going to do my art I put my art here. So any of the shirts and stuff you can get from my channel, that's all here. So you can do some shameless self-promotion too, and you just wouldn't add tank parameters. I mean, but I just uploaded it in a tank slot because it's basically a photo gallery, and then you can list inhabitants. So I could list each of the species that's represented here and then upload a picture of the art, and then if people wanted to click on it, would click to other things. And in the future, the fact that all this stuff is hyperlinked and cross-linked is going to make this website extremely searchable for Google. And that's something that like Aquabid or Dan's Fish, or I mean Get Gills, that they don't really have, is that whole aspect. Like it's not going to pop up on Google for sale for things as easily. Whereas this is all been optimized. Like here's a picture from my actual tank with my blue lip buffaloes. And they've got all sorts of info in here from care guides. And they have all the care guides from Aquatic Arts. They have things like inspiration where they say like, you know, in here they're going to upload like featured tanks of people that they just like how the tank turns out. Information on this is the really cool stuff to me is like they've got info from who's uploaded stuff and who answered survey questions that they'll put out from time to time. If you want to participate, you don't have to, but it's got the info on how many tanks people keep in the hobby and how many hours. So if you have 10 plus tanks, you're spending 9 hours a week or more on average doing maintenance. If you have one tank, most people spend 2.5 hours. And then most people on this site consider themselves advanced or expert level keepers, which is interesting. But it kind of makes sense because this is kind of hardcore to be buying fish online all the time. But that's not reflective of the hobby at large. And so that's what's kind of cool too, is we kind of have a bit of an elitist group on this, in that the breeders and the buyers are really pretty high end, pretty well informed for the most part, you know. But also people who've been thinking like, maybe I want to start selling wholesale. Like this is another chance to like get your fish, get them healthy, and you know, like as long as you're sourcing things ethically and well, like get in on that. You know, it's I'm curious if they have anything under conservation yet, but yeah, to me it's impressive. What could happen with this site, if that makes sense? Like once we get people on board,
there seems to be like there's going to be so many things to show on there. We're pretty much done for today.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I wanted to bring you up so that a lot of people, because I know it was shown on the morning on his Saturday morning cartoons. It was shown on. I wanted to get it shown like in the evening time sometime, because a lot of us, including myself, cannot get up that early for some reason. I tried all weekend and I just couldn't do it. But I just wanted to get it out there to a lot more, you know, some more people if possible.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, like I said, I don't have a stake in the company or anything, but there's literally a live stream I did about 4 or 5 years ago, and my channel was pretty new. And I was like, man, I wish I had the money to make an app happen that's like Aquabid meets like a dating site meets, you know, Amazon.com, you know, like taking the best elements of all these things, because you'll be able to make a wish list. Let me just say this last two things is you'll be able to make a wish list of fish you wish you could buy. And then that will also tell breeders or importers like, oh, there's 15 people who want female scarlet batis. Better import some of those or better breed some of those. And the transparency of this site is you have to list whether it's tank bred in the US, or imported. And I think that's really important to some people. Other people, the price is what matters, and that's that. But to me, like if I'm gonna do German blue rams, I want to know what kind of water they were in and where they were bred, because you could breed a German blue ram in rock hard water that's not that hot if that's where all the last 3 generations are from and they're doing fine. So, but that's not going to work for a wild caught one.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
Right.
check it out. It's all free. Vivi doesn't charge anything until the transaction goes through, and all they charge is 15% of the fee from the buy. Like
The transaction, right?
The
Not the
transaction.
shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. All right.
That's cool.
Well, we'll give Susie Q a couple minutes to get over and get ready. She's probably like, oh my, this was it's a lot of good information, a lot of good stuff that they're trying to do. And I'm very glad that somebody's taken another step forward in this fish hobby for us to get fish that is tank bred by a hobbyist easier for us to get.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a hard thing.
Peer to peer.
Yeah.
And it would have been really easy for a company. I won't say anything, but for a company to, there's several people I could list in my head that I'm like, that would do it, for their gain, for their brand's gain. And it would have made it easier, but maybe they're taking a huge chunk or they're only allowing their stuff. And this is very like Napstery vibe as far as like, yeah, there is still someone taking a cut, but it kind of has that feeling of Craigslist or something that's a little less predatory. It's not quite Craigslist open, but that's probably a good thing. I've had bad luck in the past going to parking lots and like selling duckweed in like little baggies and stuff. Just a little sketchy.
I would not advise that because you might get it. Oh, I'm going to slap these handcuffs on you for selling some duckweed, and they go, and be like, oh, son of a gun, we didn't get him. We thought he was the dealer.
Yeah,
bags of rocks.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I need 4 really good centerpiece rocks and a bag of grass. That'll be $25. I'll meet you at the Safeway in an hour. Like, yeah, that text might not go over so well when the cop reads it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you're.
But it'll hold up in court.
Hey, well, yeah, that's the thing. They sort it out, but you get to sit the weekend in county.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody in the chat, the mods especially.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget about the lurkers that just been listening. And
don't forget about that like.
Yeah, there's this like button. If you want to, you can hit it. It's fine. But I want to thank Jason for filling in for T and Aqua tonight, and also for Alex coming up being our special guest to talk about Vivi with us.
I greatly appreciate it. And check it out. Like I said, it's free. And if you have any questions, don't message me. No, I'm just kidding. You can message me. But also they have a support team. So if you do have questions about like, I want to be a seller and it's not I can't find the species or whatever. Most of it's an easy fix if you just email them within like 5 minutes to 48 hours, somewhere in there, it'll be fixed. Like they're pretty on the ball. So,
all right, everybody, head on over to Susie Q Aquatics and Exotics.
Ooh-wee.
Keep it going for the Sunday night edition of Fish Fam.
Fish Fam. All right.
Bye, everybody.